Just a few days after Eugenio Bu had earned his first Michelin star in his previous restaurant in Milan, the management decided they wanted a different concept. So, unsurprisingly, Eugenio Bu left, and equally unsurprisingly, his entire brigade left with him. In June of 2018, he opened his new Milan restaurant in the Ticinese district as owner, and appropriately, it bears his name, Bu. I got there a little before 8:30 and was greeted at the reception by the chef himself. I was the first guest, and for a bit I wondered whether word about the restaurant might not have got around yet. But by 9, every table was full. Before I could decide on my culinary itinerary for the evening, along with a glass of Franciacorta, 3 amuse-bouches were served. These were a little rice tart with fresh goat cheese and pollen, a hammock of Belgian endive with anchovies and walnut, and a radish marinated in raspberry vinegar. A few moments later, a black and white striped mug. At its bottom, a red liquid made of tomato, beet, and lemon. All in all, an auspicious start. The menu concept sets forth 8 suggestions, with 2, 3, or 5 to be chosen by the guest. There's a great quote from Horkheimer and Adorno's Dialectic of Enlightenment on suggestion, cited on the menu in Italian only. In any case, the 3 suggestions I chose, after perusing the capsule descriptions of each, were La cuisine du marché, which is relatively self-explanatory, Think green, a focus on the beauty and infinite variety of vegetables, which was an instant must for me, and Il Viaggio, which reflects influences from other cuisines experienced during the chef's travels. In case you were wondering, the chef's father is Dutch, hence the name. His mother and maternal grandmother a professional cook from Liguria, hence the choice of profession. Guests aren't told what individual dishes will be. Each suggestion contains 3 or 4 surprises, and the diner does well to sit back and enjoy the discoveries as they arrive. Now, after these teaser photos, let's go through things chronologically, the way my dinner unfolded. First off was a homage to grains from Italy and Northern Europe, grissini, and what was described as a focaccia made out of 7 Northern European grains. I never learned which 7 they were, but I'm not exaggerating if I say it would have been worth it coming just for this. Great breads as memorable as this one need to be treasured. Off-the-beaten-track wines to accompany the meal. The first was a biodynamic Monterey Ravenna Bianco, made from various strains of Albana by the Vigne dei Boschi, not far from Imola in Romagna. A stunning fruit dish appeared next. Grilled watermelon with different colored tomatoes, primarily green ones, resting on top of burrata from Como, decorated with basil. Few things induce such a state of grateful contentment in me as such wonderful, if startlingly simple, beginnings to a nice dinner. I cacciagalli from the province of Caserta in Campania were the makers of the falanghina aurivola brought to accompany the next dish. It came with an understated description. On a base of a porcini crumble and a cream of young goat cheese, vegetables. The crumble and cheese are visible at the edges. On the whole, they're covered up by the mix of mostly raw vegetables. I didn't want to dislodge them to get a better view of the crumble. An extravagantly named wine preceded the next 2 plates. A stralunato, mostly Vermentino, with a bit of Moscato, from Il Torchio, east of La Spezia in Liguria. As to the name, it refers to a part of the fermentation process made during a waning moon, and not, presumably, to the usual definitions you find for stralunato, such as dazed and confused or wild-eyed. You may notice that I wasn't quite keeping up with the pace of the changing wines, but I was enjoying them as they were poured. The stralunato accompanied two items from what was obviously Il Viaggio. A Mexican Ligurian open-faced taco made with chestnut flour, curd, and raw Ligurian red shrimp. The dish itself was already gorgeous, but please take note of the plates it was served on. Its exotic cousin, so to speak, arrived in a tall steamer basket, a revisited bao made from cuttlefish ink. I was too busy filming and eating at this stage to inquire exactly what the other ingredients were in the bao. Suddenly, a loaf of bread straight out of the oven appeared, and at a side table, the waiter scooped a perfect spoonful of Normandy butter from a 5-kilo churn. Like its Northern European 7-grain focaccia predecessor, this bread and this butter were equals with the more elaborate highlights in the dinner. I was too slow with my camera a few minutes later to film the next item's presentation. It came in an egg-shaped container, the pointed end of which was lifted to unveil its ingredients. Playfully described as an egg which fell into the grass, what we had was a lawn of dandelion greens and other salads, and false earth, that is, a porcini crumble. And between lawn and earth was a free-range egg with melted fontina from the Valle d'Aosta. Don't be deceived by the simplicity or playfulness. A delicious and distinctive egg dish. Its accompaniment was a malvasia from 80-year-old vines made by I Clivi, just north of Cormons in Friuli by the Slovenian border. Palamita, or Atlantic bonito, and its liver in a roulade of Swiss chard filled with parsley, walnuts, and vinegar was up next. Many months later, I still recall this as being one of the most refined flavor combinations of the whole meal. I got a tasting glass of a biodynamic Gewürztraminer from Inda near Milano in South Tyrol to go with this. Chef Boer personally served me the next plate. "There has to be at least one rich French-inspired dish in your dinner," he said, as he placed the veal kidneys with chanterelles, 5 truffle slices, bread, and lots of cream in front of me. He was absolutely right. It was rich and earthy and a great gourmand pleasure. Incidentally, I hope you have again noticed the beautiful plate this was served on. The sommelier presented me with the wine for this and the next dish, a Costa Toscana Bianco, a Demeter-certified biodynamic wine made from Vermentino, Malvasia, and Trebbiano by the Fabbrica di San Martino, just outside Lucca. The chef came out again to present the follow-up. "We decided to put the primo at the end," he told me. Spaghetti with furikake and butter. Their furikake mixture contained wood sorrel, toasted sesame, garlic, algae, and celery, I was told. Some of the most gratifying spaghetti I've ever eaten, and let me tell you, that's a vast quantity. Have you been counting how many plates there have been? I wasn't. I'd long since lost count. As the chef had said the primo was the end, I figured the next course would be the dessert. Indeed, I was brought a lemon granita sitting in the midst of an unusual crumble. This was made with capers, coffee, cocoa, the grainy chocolate from Modica, and almonds. And did it ever work? A magical juxtaposition. And let me call your attention to the cheerful bowl and plate which the dessert was presented in. I was now expecting the check. There was a surprise, however, something I hadn't considered. A second dessert, and one with a theatrical staging. First, on a black plate, a transparent raviolo concealing hinted-at ingredients under its surface. As the waiter stepped in with the knife, he said,
Questa è la nostra dedica a Lucio Fontana.
"This is our dedication to Lucio Fontana, the artist famous for carefully slashed canvases." The cut revealed the contents. Strawberries and radicchio marinated in marsala vinegar. The flavor was as dramatic as was the presentation. There were 3 small post-desserts too, a beignet, a mini strawberry custard tart, and a spoon holding bread and chocolate. Wow, what a dinner! I'm too tall to waddle, but I walked at half my usual speed on the way back to the hotel. Such a memorable evening, and I can't wait to try some of the other suggestions on a future visit.